Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our second free webinar. And this is legal tips for online businesses. So thank you for taking time to attend the webinar this afternoon. Let me introduce to you our speaker. Our speaker is Attorney Christian George Militante. He's a lawyer, professor, lecturer, realtor, and a consultant to various companies and organizations within and outside Metro Manila. His decade-long experience as a lawyer spans the various fields of law. Currently, he is the managing partner of Militante Agihap Solomon Law Office, or MASLAW, which specializes litigation in civil, criminal, family, tax, labor, and collection cases. At the same time, he's been a part of the academe as a professor at Southville International School and Colleges, and of Southville International School affiliated with foreign universities like the Montfort University, teaching UK business law and introduction to UK law. He's also currently the corporate secretary of various companies and the lecturer and consultant on the Government Procurement Reform Act, or RA 9184. Attorney Militante graduated summa cum laude with a degree in Bachelor of Science in Business Administration at St. Jude College. Right after graduation, he took his Bachelor of Laws as an academic scholar at the University of Santo Tomas and graduated in 2007. Thereafter, he obtained units for his Master of Laws at the San Beda Graduate School of Law. Recently, he finished his Master in Business Administration from Southville International School and Colleges, obtaining the highest merit, or Meritissimus, and best in thesis for the topic Contractualization in the Philippine Manufacturing Industry, a proposed labor contracting partnership policy framework. Let me welcome Attorney Christian George Militante.
Um, Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. Uh, right now, we will be discussing legal tips for online businesses. In fact, it's booming right now about doing online selling. There are a lot of legal matters that we really have to consider. But since we are only with limited time, we would be discussing or highlighting some of the legal parameters that we should look out for as online sellers. So if I may proceed with the first slide. So let me first explain to you the trend. The trend right now, there is a massive shift of Filipino retail towards digital. In fact, in April 2020, there had been a survey. If you would notice, there is an increase on online purchases pertaining to DIY products, home furnitures, and tourism is totally left behind as part of online selling. So e-commerce is not something new to us, but with the Filipino e-commerce system, there is a major leap right now. So with our current situation, it's easier for us to sell online because we have a lot of online platforms. And technically, considering this opportunity, it created a new world for online sellers as well as small and medium enterprises. Let's go to the next slide. Since we are about to discuss the different tips for online selling, let me first clarify that when you talk of online business, we are referring to all online platforms. In fact, there had been numerous online platforms available. You have this is a range of services available on the internet. So it includes all marketplaces, search engines. We have this Walmart, Amazon, eBay. All of those are online platforms. But the current trend right now is to utilize social media platform, which is also an online platform. We are now using most for Facebook. In fact, if you have to consider during the pandemic, Philippines rated as the highest in the use of social media. And the reason for this is the emerging online selling that happened during the pandemic. Let's now go to the different legal tips. Next slide, please. So let me go first to what we must know.
Dito kay Winsurin.
The first thing that you have to understand about online business, there must be registration of your business. No business is exempted from registering either with the Department of Trade and Industry for those would want to enter as a sole proprietor or for partnership and corporation with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Now, with the Department of Trade and Industry, if you would want to register, we have, you can go directly with the DTI or you can process it online. In processing it online, you can just go directly to the business name registration service. You can click on that on the website of the DTI. Now, for your registration, you have to pay a minimal fee of registration fee, a minimal one, and the registration fee will depend on the coverage of your business. So like for example, if it's only a barangay coverage for your delivery, then it's only for 200 pesos. For city and municipality is 500, it's 1,000. And for personal coverage for delivery, it's 2,000. Now, with regard to registration as a partnership or corporation, we can do it online with the Securities and Exchange Commission by registrating under the company registration system. So aside from your creation as a business organization for your online selling, you also have to register with the local government concern. So there would be a payment for your business permit and mayor's permit. Now, for this one, actually, there are a lot of politicians right now who are moving for the exemption of on payment of business permit for small time online sellers. Another thing to consider, you have to register before the Bureau of Internal Revenue. So actually, I'll be discussing this more on the next Maslow must know. But where in as an overview, sorry, go back to the first slide first. So with the Bureau of Internal Revenue, you need to register. In fact, just recently, the BIR issued Memorandum Circular number 60-2020. This is a reminder for a registration of your online selling. That particular memorandum circular 60-2020 made a deadline of July 31, 2020. However, a new memorandum circular was issued by the BIR under number 75-2020 and the filing of registration until August 31, 2020. Considering, however, that August 31, 2020 is a declared national holiday, then you can still make your registration on September 1, 2020 without incurring any penalty and surcharges. If going to the last requirement for registration, since you would be since you would be registering and if you would be employing, then your employees must be registered with Pag-ibig, PhilHealth, and SSS. So let's us now proceed to the second Maslow must know. So this is very critical for every online transaction. In fact, many are surprised that online business, so when you talk of online business, any means which a person or company earns income using the internet is considered to be engaged in online business. This is not something that is new. In fact, in 2013, during the time of Commissioner Kim Henares, they already made a clarification that online businesses or online store are not different from those brick and mortar stores or those traditional businesses. So there is still a need for them to register. And if we go by with the provisions of the law, it is stated under Section 263 of the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 that specifically requires the registration of your online business with the BIR. So once you have registered your online with the BIR, you would be given a certificate of registration. Practically, you would be costing roughly around 4,500 for purposes of registration with the BIR. So they would also give you the signage that you need, the ask for a receipt, and then there would be an authority to print. Now, many of you might be asking, do we really need to register with the BIR? In fact, there's more advantage for registration with the government agencies that I have mentioned a while ago, as well as with the BIR. Because with your registration, it only appears to the public. It's making an appearance to the public that your online business is a legitimate business. That's the first thing. The second one is with your registration, you can ask for assistance with specific government agencies. So that's more advantageous, specifically for those small time online sellers. Now let's go to the tax implication. For those registering, definitely you would be paying either the income tax or the business tax. When you talk of the income tax, specifically you are registered under the DTI wherein there is no separate personality on the part of your business, so it is tagged along to you as an individual, then what would you be filing is an income tax. On the other hand, with the business tax, since your registration, for example, is a corporation, you have to pay the minimum corporate tax of at least. So, what is important right now actually is for us to determine these tax exemption principles as well as tax minimization measures. So, we have the first concept about marginal income earners. These marginal income earners are considered to be those individual not deriving compensation as an employee, but technically who is self-employed and deriving gross sales or receipts not exceeding 100,000 in 12-month period. So take note, not exceeding 100,000. So in ordinary parlance, we are considering that this particular marginal income earners, the so-called tricycle drivers, those having small sari-sari stores, carinderias, and turo-turo, they can be considered as marginal income earners. So what is important in understanding this marginal income earners? With this, you need to register with the BIR using BIR Form 901 with with minimal documentary requirements like submitting a sworn statement of income for that year, your PSA, and your certified local civil registry for purposes of the birth certificate. Then you can file already for the exemption of the annual registration fee. But for this, you need to still register your books of account. So in essence, you would still be needing your issuance of receipts and invoices. However, while you would file your return under a BIR form number 170, you need not be paying your income tax because you are already exempted. So as well, if you are a marginal income earner, you are exempted from the payment of value added tax and percentage tax. Another tax minimization measure actually is this barangay micro business enterprise, so-called as the BMBE. You can register your business as a BMBE with the TTI. Now, with this, who are qualified to register as a BMBE? Only those without valuable assets exceeding 3 million pesos. So you can register your company as a barangay micro business enterprise. And the significance of that is once you are registered under BMBE, you have the option to avail this 8% income tax, which is a flat rate. At the same time, optional standard deduction of 40% gross sales for individuals, gross income for corporation. So what do we mean by this optional standard deduction? This optional standard deduction, you don't need to substantiate your deductions from your gross. Meaning to say, like for example, I am engaged in online selling and I'm using my home for purposes of preparation of food because I'm in the food service. Now, if you are utilizing your Meralco, these are something that is noted on the owner of the house, which in that case, you cannot make use of it as a deduction. So it is better that you avail us of this optional standard deduction of 40%. Now, with the train law that is in effect right now, if your total gross is not exceeding 250,000 pesos in 1 year, then you are exempted from payment of tax. But take note, while you are exempted from the payment of tax, you are not exempted from filing your return. Those are different compliance. Let's go to the third Maslow must know. This one is something very relevant. Many of us, since because of being triggered by the left and right offering of face mask, face shield, sometimes we are saying, okay, I have 100,000 pieces available on this and that. Everyone must know the Food and Drug Administration issued this particular circular number 2020-010, which expressly states about prohibition of online selling of unregistered and notified medical devices. So the prohibition covers medicines, medical devices, and supplies. So this is in consonance to Republic Act number 9711, which is the Food and Drug Administration Act of 2009, which specifically prohibits the manufacture, importation, exportation, sale, offering for sale, distribution, transfer of non-consumer use, promotion, advertising, or sponsorship of health products. Take note, the prohibition is for those without the proper authorization. What do we mean by this without proper authorization? This refers to the license to operate that is issued by FDA, and at the same time, they would issue a medical certificate for that matter. So let's go to the fourth Maslow must know. Everyone engaged in online selling, sometimes if you are the buyer, you got frustrated. Why? Because of the concept of expectation versus reality. This usually happens when you purchase in the marketplace. I, in fact, had been a victim of this, wherein I purchased on a marketplace a shoe rack, and it turned out the rack that was delivered to me is for chips rack. So knowing the dimension are too different. So if you are engaged in online selling, the actual character, value, properties, dimensions, and conditions of the item you are selling shall be posted. It is specifically stated under Act number 3740, which pertains to the act to penalize fraudulent advertising, mislabeling, or misbranding of any product. Such is unlawful in the Philippines. So what do we mean by having said it's unlawful? It's a form of misrepresentation when you falsely advertise, when you mislabel or misbrand your product. So the problem right now, it's a criminal offense. So what do we mean by criminal offense? There is a criminal liability for that kind of fraudulent misrepresentation. Let's go to Maslow number 5. In Maslow number 5, we have to ensure the authenticity of our products. There are a lot of instances for online sellers that we are just resellers. So we're just getting our item from another seller. So the liability is now imposed to the reseller for selling counterfeit product. That is an express right of the buyers under the Consumer Act of the Philippines, or Republic Act number 7394. So when you talk of a counterfeit product, this is rampant nowadays. Like for example, there are numerous fake products for cosmetics, right? So you really have to ensure the authenticity of the product you are selling. Let's go to the next Maslow must know. This one, The PM culture. PM is not the key. Usually you would find this in your social media. Why? Because sometimes the reason why other online sellers would resort to this is in order to have an engagement. Actually, the primary reason for most is really having an engagement. So it's like making a negotiation with a supposed buyer. But this is not the rule. PM is really not the key. As I have mentioned, hindi cool ang PM sent sa online selling. So it is a rule under the price tag law, which is Article 81 of the Consumer Act of the Philippines, that online sellers shall make their transactions smooth by the display of the prices on their platform. So it is unlawful to sell any product without tag, label, or mark of the price of the products. So you have to take note of that. Let's go to the next Maslow must know. Here, this is also important. There are two concepts being expressed here. One is ensuring no infringement of copyrights and patents. You might be selling that there is an infringement. When you say infringement, like the item has already been patented, so you have no authority to sell out those. And also if you are using trademarks, because right now it is easy for us to just create a logo, but it appeared that the logo that we are using, even the color, looks a semblance with that of another existing trademark. And the problem is that particular trademark has been registered. So you really need to keep away from any kind of infringement. So if indeed, like for example, you thought that the trademark is very good and for you to market your product, then what you have to do is to register that particular trademark. So in order for you to protect your own trademark. Let's go to the next Maslow number 8. So this one is very relevant pertaining to the concept of data privacy. Since we as online sellers would be gathering personal information from our online buyers, online sellers must know the limitations on how to process the personal data of our online buyers. So these are the key rights of online buyers that online sellers must take note. First, every online buyer has the right to be informed. Online sellers can only process the personal data when each online buyer gives consent. So, like for example, the name, the address, if if that was given only for purposes of delivery, then only for that concept. Next right of the online buyer is the right to object. While there is an agreement for the mandatory use of the personal data, after giving out such personal data, an online buyer can refuse to accept any of the terms anytime. The third right is the right to access and data portability. Online buyers must have reasonable access to the data that they have given. So since they have the right to access, if they found that there are any some sort of corrections to be made, then they have the right to rectify. And also, if the online buyer would not want to continue to withdraw his or her consent, which gave, then there is this concept of unsubscription, which is the right to erasure or blocking. And more importantly, we have to take note, online sellers, that if we inappropriately use this personal data of our online buyers, they can always file a case for damages and a complaint before the NPC. So please take note of that. Let's go to Maslow number 9. This one, pertaining to shipping, our logistics of products. So there are a lot of products as mentioned under the Modernization and Tariff Act that are being prohibited from being transported. So some of which are dangerous and hazardous goods, knives, cigarettes, tobacco. But also, you have to consider this is not something more of legal, but you have to consider if you are shipping, if you are not using Lala Move, Grab, or Mr. Speedy, but it's more of an inter-island shipping, you might need to consider that the LBC as a private courier publish its own not ship those products. So we have fruits and vegetables, alcoholic beverages, tobacco, cigarettes. Those cannot be shipped by LBC. Let's go to Maslow number 10. So this is another warning for those resellers or for those who are engaged in selling used second-hand articles. You have to consider to check the origin of your product because there are a lot of instances because scam is something that is not new to us Filipinos. There are instances wherein what we are selling coming from an original seller is a fence. What do we mean by fence? These are considered to be proceeds of robbery or theft. And we have this law, which is the anti-fencing law, wherein if you are caught in the possession of a fence, then you are criminally liable. You cannot make a defense of good faith that it was bought or sold online. The mere fact that you are in possession, there is already a presumption that you committed a offense. So you always have to learn the ropes in swapping online. Number one, remember safety first. Second, always be inquisitive. That's why it's good to question. It's good to ask. And the last one is be skeptical when necessary. So I guess I have shared 10 specific legal tips for those engaged in online businesses. So if you have questions, just feel free to ask.
Okay, thank you, Attorney George. Are there any questions? If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. You can type in your question or you can unmute your audio and ask him. Well, I actually have a question, George. For the barangay micro business enterprise, because right now, the what's considered BMB, as you mentioned, is the total assets, right, is below
Yes,
3 million pesos.
yes.
So, is there any industry requirement that you should belong to for you to be considered a BMB? Or you can just be any business belonging to any industry?
Actually, if you consider, there is no specific prohibition on that registration with the Barangay Microbusiness in Enterprise. Considering the capitalization of 3 million, as I suppose, there are a lot of industries that you cannot operate more than if you're just considering such amount of capitalization. But right now, the growth assistance for BMBE, the government have this DTI Negosyo Centers. In fact, you have the UP Institute for Small Scale Industries. So technically, it's more considering on small scale industries, as well as DOST have this some support system as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a question from Ms. Pakita Sonia.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. It can be Tagalog. Pwede mag-Tagalog dito.
Ah,
Is there anyone who doesn't understand the Tagalog? Just please raise your hand so that we can translate it for you. Yeah, what's the question, Ms. Pakita? Okay, kindly unmute yourself, please.
Na ano natin yung hipon. Yung hipon kayo. Layo. Eh, hindi naman shellfish yun. Ang shellfish yung kwan. Kailangan mo sa
Miss,
just to answer, I think I have read the question in the chat box. So,
okay.
Tagalogin ko po. Ang hindi po kasi pag-register ng ating mga negosyo, right now po kasi meron po tayong tinatawag na ang DTI. Labas po sila ng DTI roadmap sa ngayong taon. At gugustuhin po nila na i-check po lahat ng mga negosyo na hindi po rehistrado. Ngayon po, ang pinaka po mas naghihigpit na ngayon ay ang BIR dahil po kapag hindi po tayo nakapagrehistro, una kung late po tayo nagrehistro, may karampatan pong penalty po. Kung sakali naman kung hindi po tayo magrehistro, that is, meron po tayong tinatawag sa batas po na tax evasion. Pag sinabi po nating tax evasion, iniiwasan po natin na hindi po talaga tayo, intention po natin na hindi po magbayad ng tax. So, ang ibig po sabihin nun, ang tax evasion po sa atin ngayon ay isang krimen. So, kung hindi po tayo magkakaroon po tayo ng paglabag doon, pwede po tayong makulong.
Okay. So I think this is related no dun sa question before Ms. Pakita from Nino Pernites. What happens if you fail to register your online business?
So I think the same answer will apply.
So I think it really depends on what you may violate actually. Diba? Depende sa batas. So it could be a tax issue, it could be a privacy issue, it could be an intellectual property issue. It could be a local government issue, right, for non-registration. So now, do we need to give from Mr. Nakpil? He's in the business of online, he's in the online food business. So do they need to give PW discounts? If yes, what percent? And thank you
After
now.
the PWD kasi, it's not actually, kung sasabihin natin, walang categorical statement that with the PWD law, there would be an exemption for online businesses. Kasi just all of this that we are discussing, in essence, ito, yung NIRC natin, yung memorandum circular, in fact, kung titingnan natin, walang pinagkaiba siya from any traditional business. So that means kung ano man yung dapat na obligasyon ng mga traditional business, obligasyon din ng mga nasa online business.
Okay, and the same goes for maybe senior citizen discounts, right?
Senior citizen discount. So actually, ang senior citizen naman at PWD parehas lang eh.
Pareho lang. Okay. Any other questions? Just type in. We still have roughly 18 minutes or 17 minutes. So we have lots of time to ask Attorney George Militante.
With the question?
Yan. Pag sinabi ng reseller, usually 10 to 20 lang ang tubo ko tapos mag-register pa ako. Or meron ba talagang nakukulong for not for failure to register?
Well, I have to be honest. This is something more of the implementation already with the BIR. if we try checking ngayon, based on percentage, ang daming involved sa online selling. And if we try to think, it's really hard on the BIR to trace and track each and every online business. So, ang lumalabas dito, syempre, it will take time for the BIR to look after all those engaged in business, online business. So, kung sino man ang mas malalaki ang mga oportunidad, mas malamang yun ang mga nauuna ngayon na kinokonsidera ng BIR. So, pero as I have mentioned in my presentation, dapat kasi lahat tayo mag-register. So, ang sinasabi naman dito, since kahit sabihin yung 10 peso o 20 pesos lang ang tubo ninyo, dapat irehistro pa rin siya, pero hindi kayo magbabayad ng tax. Kasi nga may mga, number one, kung ang kinikita nyo naman, kung isusuma nyo naman yan, 250,000 less ang inyong kinita, hindi naman kayo para magbayad ng tax.
Can business registration be done online, or do they have to go to BIR or DTI physically?
For that, as I have mentioned po kanina, para doon sa magpaparehistro po sa DTI, pwede nyo pong i-click yung website nila. Ang pangalan is yung Business Name Registration Service nila nandoon sa kanilang website. Then, yun po, online na po yung process nun. Kung ayaw nyo pong physically pupunta po kayo sa DTI. With regard naman po sa BIR, pwede nyo pong kontakin. Ang tinatawag po doon ay Revenue District Office. So yung RDO po ng inyong nasasakupan, pwede nyo rin pong kontakin. Pero with BIR po, kasi may mga iba pa pong mga dokumento na dapat mong isumite, baka mag-require din sila ng physical submission ng mga inyong requirement. Kasi sa BIR, dapat po kayong kumuha rin ng authority to print. Ano po yung ibig sabihin ng authority to print? Yun po yung otoridad na ibibigay ng BIR para makapagpagawa kayo ng inyong mga invoice at resibo. So ito pong mga invoice at resibo ay gagamitin nyo para maksuma po ng BIR magkano po talaga yung inyong naging gross sales po sa panahon ng isang taon.
Yeah, George, I think this is just something that's not being asked now, pero would be very relevant for those who want to venture into online business, or if they're already in the online business. With regard to intellectual property, because if we look at the world of online businesses, diba, ang dami-daming magkakapangalan. So if you are if you have your own brand and meron nang nauna sa'yo, but not yet registered, but you are not yet registered, what advice do you want to give these online businesses? Because of course, kung sumikat, you don't want na pag sumikat ka na, tsaka ka pa maki-question sa brand name mo, di ba? So what advice do you want to give to them?
Kasi, aside from the fact that you have already registered your business, as I have said also a while ago, it is best to register your trademark. Kasi kung madali ang sirkulasyon ng impormasyon sa online, madali mag-share, 'di ba? Madali mag-promote because like for example, lalo na sa Facebook sa ngayon, gumagamit ka ng isang logo. Yung logo na yon, talagang dapat inirerehistro mo na sa simula pa lang para kung sakali man na may mangopya, kahit sa itsura ng kulay o pangalan, may katunog man o anumang pagkakahalintulad at pagkakapareho, pwede mo talagang kasuhan pa yung isang na gumamit ng katulad ng sayo.
Okay, so it's really ipa-register sa Intellectual Property Office. Yeah, okay, so there's another question from Rodingo. Sakop din po yung online live streaming ng mga kababayan natin abroad na pinapadala dito ang items like from Japan to PH.
Yung sa ganyan po kasi, ang titingnan natin is yung konsepto na saan po ba naganap ang sale, sino po ang kumita. So kung ang kumita po ay taga Pilipinas, pinadala po sa Japan, definitely po, dapat bayaran po yon kasi kumita po kayo dahil dito po ginamit ang inyong transaksyon. Pero kung yung mula Japan papunta po ng Pilipinas, naging buyer lang po naman po ang Pinoy. So technically, hindi naman po siya para i-report po.
Okay, so I think maybe we can have one last question. No? I mean, for the entire attendees. But before that, no, George, can you just clarify yung online barter?
Yung?
I mean, is yung sa barter na nangyayari ngayon. We know that it's valid, yeah. Can you make a business out of, like for example, online barter?
Online barter is actually if you are considering barter as a mode of your business, then that is in the same way of doing an online business. When you say barter, ito yung sinasabi nating in exchange ng isang bagay ay kapalit ay isang bagay. Tama. So like for example, sa sabihin na nating 1 kilong asukal, kapalit ay isang figurine, something ganon, di ba? So, barter yon kasi walang money na involved. Sa totoo lang sa ngayon, ang dami ng mga konsepto ng barter. Di ba? Kumakalat na yan sa kung ano-ano mang syudad. Pero, na-clarify na naman yan ng ating, ng DTI na ang ibig sabihin ng kanilang hinahabol ng mga barter ay yun talagang ginawa siyang negosyo. Pero kung ang inaano mo lang naman, ang binabarter mo ay iyong mga personal na bagay, hindi siya sakop doon sa sinasabing online barter that should be considered to be taxable. Ano rin yan walang pinagkaiba rin yan. Kunwari, when you talk of online business, so technically from the term business itself, you are saying na you are engaged in a transaction of continuous selling. Kasi kaya nga sinabing business, it's a continuous process, hindi yung bastang isang beses lang. Like ako, there are instances, meron akong kotse, luma ko yung kotse ko, binenta ko. Do I have to register that? No, kasi hindi naman siya business ko. I'm just selling my pre-loved car. So, it's just one occasion. So, hindi siya sakop dun sa sinasabi nating registration din ng online business. Kasi per se, hindi siya negosyo. Well, actually, sa totoo lang, madami namang pwedeng this is something na pwedeng i-considera. Like, for example, isang tao na gusto mong mag-dispose, di ba? Yung mga garage sale or something, yung mga pre-love items nila. Like, my wife, for example, is a collector of bags and she now intends to sell all those pre-love bags. In that case, you cannot order to be engaged in selling kasi it's just like a disposal. When you talk of decluttering your items, it can never amount to an online selling.
Okay. Any other questions from... Okay. Do online business owners need to secure business permit?
As I have mentioned in my first slide, Mr. Nino, yes, you need to get still a business permit. So it's on a per local government concern. However, as I have mentioned also, some politicians are now considering, since we have a waiver of not getting online business permits for small businesses. But as of now, there's no clear direction on that. It's just still a statement coming from some politicians to pass a law. In fact, the DTI is pushing our senators and congressmen to really pass a law that would really cover online transactions. Because so far as now, ang sinasabi nilang ipin lang para sa batas tungkol sa mga ganitong bentahan, yung medyo matagal ng batas na Consumer Act of the Philippines. Other than that, hindi pa na consider talaga yung mga ganitong klaseng platforms.
Okay. Thank you too, Nino. Another question from Mr. Nakpil. If you have a reseller then nag-issue yung transaction niya, liable pa din ba ang owner or yung the principal?
Kung reseller ka, syempre, ikaw, you're the one to go after the principal. Then the buyer will go after to the reseller. So, technically, ganun ang magiging relasyon ng bawat isa.
Then another question from Shell. I think nasagot na natin, online business taxable, but what percent?
Yeah, for the online business, ang lalabas dyan, di ba, yung meron tayong sa train law ngayon, kung below 250,000, then you are not liable for tax, di ba? Pero same, kung nag-exceed siya, yung regular filing tayo ng as an individual tax income.
Yeah, and
Pero kasi
maybe
yung
just to
individual income tax natin kasi sa totoo lang graduated siya based dun sa amount. So kaya hindi ko masabi yung percentage kasi once na-exceed dun sa 250,000 based on the train law, graduated yung tax. Pero for business, for corporations, ang tax natin under the minimum corporate on taxation is 30%.
Okay, yeah, I think there's a follow-up question. What if overprice ako pero ginagrab ng mga sorry, hindi ko maintindihan to. Teka, what if overprice ako pero
The question is pertaining doon sa overpricing. Kasi 'di ba, meron tayong tinatawag na suggested retail price. So, syempre kung overprice ka, the tendency it's more of the DTI talaga will go after to you. So, yung overpricing naman, it's not really something that is very criminal in nature, pero the DTI would really call your attention either a suspension or a revocation of your authority to sell.
pwede ba daw magreklamo ng mga online seller kahit hindi nagrereklamo ang buyer? Pwede ano? I mean, pwede ba ako mareklamo ng mga online seller kahit hindi nagrereklamo ang buyer?
Pwede ba ako mareklamo ng mga online seller kahit hindi nagrereklamo ang buyer? So technically, what would be the reason, ang dahilan ng isang online seller para ireklamo ka kung ang selling is between the buyer and just the seller?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the main points din that I think I'd like to highlight also from the presentation that walang difference yung may different yung online business kasi, di ba, George, it's just that you're doing business sa ibang medium, di ba? But it's just like any other business that you do, di ba? Like the transactions that you do. So same rules apply. I mean, you need to, kung magbebenta ka halimbawa, magtatayo ka ng stall sa mall ng French fries at magtatayo ka online dahil nagka-pandemic, nagbebenta ka online, same laws will apply. Nothing has actually changed. All rules and regulations are still applicable because what's being regulated is the business itself. It's not only the medium, diba? So, is it taxable? Yes. Do you need to apply for permits? Yes. Do you need to respect privacy rules? Definitely yes. Intellectual property, do they apply? Yes. So I think that's yeah. Okay, another one.
Difference
price
platform.
Yeah, it's just a platform that you're using. Price competition sa market.
No, I think the one being mentioned is pertaining to the question ni Shell. Sinasabi niya kasi yung magrereklamo yung kapwa online seller sa overpricing. Technically, sa panahon ngayon, pwede na magkita ng information ang isang online seller. Siyempre, it's a matter of competition na din sa market kapag masyadong mataas ang presyuhan. Kung titingnan mo, kung masyadong mang mataas yung presyuhan niya, sa totoo lang naman, ang makokol mo dapat kung competition ang pinag-uusapan is yung bagsak presyo.
Yeah.
Kasi yun ang mas dudumugin ng tao yung bagsak presyo kaysa dun sa overpriced. Kumbaga yung overpriced is sistemang panlalamang.
Okay. So I think that may be the last question already, since it's 1 minute before 3. Before we end, thank you very much, Attorney Militante from Maslow, for accommodating our invite for this afternoon's webinar. And we hope to have you in our future webinars. If you have any questions or any queries about any legal question that you have, you can reach out to Maslow. So the contact details are there. You can ask me, you can ask Exciting Learning how to contact him. The entire webinar will be uploaded in our YouTube channel, and we'll have snippets of this uploaded afterwards. Okay, so if you have any feedback on the webinars, these are the second ones that we've done. Kindly send it to us. Please feel free to send us an email if you think there is any topic that you want to be the subject of our training, of our webinar. Please feel free to send us an email, message us in Facebook or in Instagram. You know, we have all social media, and in LinkedIn, we have social media platforms that you can use to reach out to us. Again, thank you very much, everyone, and have a great weekend. It's a long weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.